Welcome back to Inside the Vandals with head coach Rob Akey. I'm Dennis Patchen. Thanks so much for joining us. We got another football game to talk about this weekend. Bowling Green. You have a bit of a history with Bowling Green, don't you?
There's a little history with those guys. It got off to a good start with that banner hanging up there in the bowl game, and then they were able to even it out up here last year. So I feel like there's a lot of excitement about this game. I think we're developing a nice history between the two schools and our two football teams. Obviously, we're very anxious to get a bad taste out of our mouth and go play against somebody else.
Played them in the bowl game. Was there something when the two teams met, maybe with the athletic directors, the football coaches, like, well, we should do this, we should keep playing this game every year. It's a good game for us. We need non-conference games, home and home. How did this develop after the bowl game?
I want to tell you it had already been scheduled. We had the home and home set. I want to tell you that. I'm not sure if I'm remembering that the right way, but I think it was already in the schedule book.
What makes for a better story? It was already set, or
it was already set. And
okay, so well then it was already set. I didn't know that.
There you go, and that was the magnet that brought them to the two of us together for the Humanitarian Bowl in 2009. It was a precursor to what this home and home is going to be. And we've had a good home and home series with the MAC conference. We had Western Michigan, Northern Illinois are two of the schools. It's kind of funny too, because generally you talk about a home field advantage, especially when you're traveling time zones like we will be with these guys. I mean, we're going clear across to the other side of the world. As we've gone through our history with these guys, Western Michigan came out here, beat us here. We went out their place and whipped them. Northern Illinois came out here, beat us here. We went their place and whipped them there. Bowling Green came out here, was able to beat us here. Well, we've got an opportunity to keep the home team on the winning record of these series. The home team is the one that's been suffering, so the visiting team been winning. So we've got an opportunity to keep that streak alive. But
if you beat them, then you just quit playing home games against that conference.
Yeah, we just play them on the road. I think it'd be a good thing.
Get a check and get a win.
There you go.
It's a pretty good deal. What's different about Bowling Green from this year as opposed to last year?
A little more experience at quarterback. That certainly is going to, I think, has probably helped them a little bit. I look at their game Saturday against Florida, and I felt like they held up pretty well in the fronts, and that's generally where you're going to see a difference between a mid-major Division I program and an SEC program, and so I think that they've seen probably some improvement there, some strength gain there, and then there's a lot of guys that we are familiar with, but I know they're a good football team. They're a well-coached football team. I'm anxious to play these guys.
People are going to look at the score as they get ready for Bowling Green and go, "Ooh, they only lost to Florida by a couple of touchdowns." Is that a fair assessment, or is that a little bit of a misnomer? Could Florida have done more things? Did they really lose by 2 touchdowns, or did they lose by more? It just wasn't on the scoreboard.
They lost. I mean, the score is the score. That's what it ended up being. They're a good football team, and they played well. The outside world is saying, "Holy cow! We lost to one AA school, and they almost beat SEC schools." So they're talking about just mailing in the score, and I don't think that that's the way that it works. I think that. I've got respect for what I saw in Bowling Green and the way they played against Florida. I saw a lot of the things that you would expect to see, as you look at the game tape and you look at things that take place within the games. I mean, you see some of those things that, was Florida capable of doing more? I don't know. But what matters is on that day, Bowling Green's kids played well enough to be where they were. They still didn't win the game. And that's the way that it ended itself up. I think that's the reason we call it a game. I think that's the way it is what it is. Anybody on any given Saturday, anything can happen, and anything will happen. It's a matter of how you go out and play some things. I think their kids were ramped up to play that game. It was what it was, but the only thing that matters is how the two teams play against each other this Saturday.
My guess is you'd be okay with the Bowling Green team thinking they just have to phone it in this week, right?
That worked for me.
That's what I kind of thought it might. Something different this week over last week. You go on the road for the first time, and it's something that is going to happen a little bit in this early stretch of the season. A lot. How does that change? How does that change what you do on how you approach a game when you're not playing here? You're playing on the road, because obviously you lose an extra day. You lose one day of practice because of travel. But how does that all change?
Friday's different, because we are traveling. There's no question about that. We've got the advantage this week with with the holiday that we can have we can have Tuesday on Monday, and we're certainly going to do that. I won't take y'all through all that, but we do have the opportunity.
We already went through that last week.
Yeah, but we've got the opportunity to start the week early, and we can get off their bodies a day closer to the game. I think that helps with things. The challenge to me is keeping travel from being a distraction. That's the biggest thing of all. We've been able able to get ourselves into routines, and you know, we've tweaked some things about the way that we're going to travel that I think are going to help us. You know, we've got some long trips this season, this being one of those that's a long trip. The important thing right now, honestly, is making sure that we pay attention to our performance. I mean, that overrides everything that we're dealing with right now. And ultimately, we get it to the point that, hey, kickoff is going to be at this time. When they say go, we're ready to go and go at a high level. That's, to me, what we need to pay attention to the most. So that's the way we're going to go about this week of practice. You know, we'll talk to the guys, especially young guys that haven't traveled with us before, you know, early and often during the week, so that it won't be completely brand new to them. That's generally where some of the issues come about. Get big brothers to look out for little brothers and make sure they get to the plane on time. But you know, in the grand scheme of things, it can also make it very easy, and that's the approach that we're going to have.
What's the focus of practice this week as you try to improve over what happened last week? What's your goal? What are you telling the kids?
Finish your technique. Finish your assignment. You know, we're continuing to talk about finish, but that was the big thing. Be accountable. Your technique will enable you to be accountable for your assignment. And let's make sure that we're all on that wavelength. Just doing that alone will help some of the consistency, or create consistency where we needed it. You know, you pick your phase of the game, but that bottom line right there. Finish what you're supposed to do. Do it the way you're supposed to do it, when you're supposed to do it. That's the definition of discipline too, by the way. That's what I'm looking for from these guys right now. Let's get a consistent performance. I've seen you do it at times. Well, then if we can do it in practice, we can do it in a game. If we can do it one time, you can do it all the time. It's a matter of being focused on finishing.
All right, good luck this weekend.
Thank you. We're looking forward to having a little more fun.
Yeah, we are. And Rob will be with us each week throughout the football season here on Inside the Vandals. When we continue, football not the only thing going on here at the University of Idaho in the early going of this fall season. We're going to check in with women's volleyball. Is off to a great start, and a preview of the women's soccer team. That's all when we continue on Inside the Vandals.